No.
Laura Palmer is Dead, a Twin Peaks podcast talking about part 13. Oh my goodness, I don't have the title.
What story is that, Charlie?
What story is that, Charlie? Yes, perfect.
That's
and we
the
still don't know.
description,
Yeah,
not
it's
the
a
title.
description. Yeah, I'm sure it's not the title. They don't. That doesn't strike me as very Lynch-like to just have titles of episodes.
Well, the titles are just part
Right.
the number. There are no titles.
I enjoy the beginning of this episode is very whimsical and charming. It's the zany music playing. Thank you. Fire Stick subtitles.
Oh.
And the Mitchum Brothers and Pink Ladies.
Twin Peaks: The Return with subtitles. You are
You're
missing.
missing everything.
So
you
much,
get kind
so
of
much.
a hey, this is what's happening next.
Right.
Happiness.
It's true.
And go in.
I'd be interested
Music.
to look into, are they getting those subtitles about sound cues from the screenplay? Are they getting it? Where are they getting it?
I don't know, but some of them are ingenious.
Right, some of them are really make the scene where I'm like, wow, zany, upbeat music was the perfect way to describe
Perfect
this.
description.
Yeah, so the Mitchum Brothers in a Congo line with the Pink Ladies and Dougie jamboree into Lucky 7 Insurance. Candy is the most excited she's ever been in life to give these gifts to Battling Bud.
And in a while because she just hit her boss with
Right.
a remote.
Yeah, Candy seems to be recovered now.
Yeah.
Um,
Her boss is good.
yeah. It's
The brothers
really...
are good. Everyone's good.
She really is very, just interesting and nuanced as a character. I'm a big Candy fan. I think she's always interesting. There's always some secret going on behind the eyes. She's just nailing it. I just think it's such a happy scene. And then the other piece we get here is that Tony is hiding behind his desk, of course, because Dougie is alive. And that is a failure on Tony's part. But we're starting to see Tony unravel. He's not really a tough guy.
Then Tony gets a call from Duncan Todd.
He calls Duncan Todd.
Or he calls Duncan Todd, and Duncan says one more day or something like that.
Brooding music.
Right.
Brooding music.
Thank
No,
you
yeah.
again, Fire Stick.
You have one day to remedy this situation.
Right.
But I thought you said two.
Basically,
One day.
Everybody's passing off the job of killing Dougie. Everyone's like, you do it. Can we just accept, nobody wants to kill Dougie? Just deal with it. He's harmless. It's fine. He's
That's
doing
part
just
of his
fine.
power.
Right.
That he makes you not want to kill him.
Right.
Which,
the power of banality is what he has. He's just
that's a word.
easy going.
Yes.
Yeah. It's true. No one wants to kill Dougie. It just keeps getting, it's that task that's fifth on everyone's to do. It's a yellow priority.
It's the things that I keep putting off. And that always go, don't forget
on that
this.
tab on the horizon, as I call it. That horizon that never comes. But yeah, it's just not a big priority for anyone killing Dougie, I guess. And then, and somehow, I guess it's a message too on how less is more, because Dougie doesn't say anything and manages to get, it's very Dowd. He's getting everything done without doing anything.
Which goes back to this meditation thing that we were talking about outside of this, because this transcendental meditation is popping up on all of my news feeds.
Because of her tie to David Lynch, and when you're in the Lynch-averse, you're into TM.
Where even in some of the Chicago public schools, they're trying meditation for a study at one of the universities to watch it. And I was like, so is this where it's just you take 15 minutes and you just take it for yourself and you should get better grades and things. That's what the article
sounds about
was
right to me. Tell me where I'm wrong, David Lynch.
Right.
Yeah. Well, and I think we're seeing that influence hugely in The Return. Right. These transitional scenes have really become something that I've noticed. And there's a lot, even with you can kind of set up scenes within any Twin Peaks episode as sort of an A scene and a B scene. There's the scenes that are really plot driving and the scenes that are sort of ambiance background that may someday build something. But delivery of Sonny Jim's gym set and him going on the monkey bars, that feels like a transitional scene to me. And they're always like palate cleansers before a really important...
Before the atmospheric music.
Yes.
Atmosphere.
Yeah,
That's
so...
the other... I've also taken down all of the subtitles of the music that plays. But can I also just go back to the conga line that Candy has gift 1, gift 2, and gift 3, and she makes sure that they're perfectly in the line, and then gives it to Bushnell, right? That's his name?
Yes, Bushnell, Battle and Bud Mullins.
So he has the Monte Cristo number 2, the monogram diamond cufflinks, and the keys to his new car.
Yay! A matching set with Dougie. They both got BMWs. Yeah, it's like a very happy celebratory moment. You know, and that makes me think, like, that's what makes Candy so wonderful at her job. She is extremely meticulous and orderly, and also looks amazing in, like, this pink bunny costume that she's always in. Weird that sci-fi book that I'm reading, like Stranger from Another World or whatever, they have that same setup where there's like 3 minion girls serving this like rich guy. It's weird.
At his
at his like mansion. Anyway, weird 1960s sci-fi novel reference incorrectly. Stranger in a Strange Land. There we go. Didn't even give the right title. But anyway, one moment that happens with the Sunny Jim's gym set, more of the Janie E type fun, is one of the, like, I'm seeing Dougie Coop becoming more lucid in the eyes. Like, there is this wistful sadness that he seems to be seeing when he's looking at Sunny Jim. And it's almost like this sadness of, like, I don't get it, what's happening, and that makes me sad. So he's coming back to lucidity a little bit here. And I love where Janie E says, I love you so much, and he just mouths so much. And it's really impactful, because Kyle MacLachlan's the shit.
It's really, and she's in 7th Heaven, which I just want to bring back for number theory.
Yes.
Well, because of the subtitles, I feel like he says the whole line.
No, he whispers.
No.
It's
like
whisper, like so, like he mouth whispers very quietly so much.
It doesn't say the whole line. It says like indistinctly, and then you just have to read his lips.
Yeah,
right.
And he says it. I feel with so much sadness, and like it's almost like he comes back to his like a realization of his environment, but can't express that verbally in the moment, and that's what you sort of see, and it's really sad to me. I thought that was just a great Kyle MacLachlan moment.
I disagree with you in the fact that I think that he's slowly coming to, and now he's not necessarily mimicking everything back, so now it's like a little more
cognizant.
Maybe I don't love you.
Interesting. Yeah, it could
more
be.
Than
I see.
I don't know if I agree necessarily yet with like his like secret sadness in the background.
I see your point. It is an interesting idea of like if how is this going to come to a head, which I've always thought would be a good dramatic choice to have, him somehow have kind of parallel realizations of having all of Dougie's memories and Special Agent Dale Cooper's memories. So now he kind of has to make a choice between this one life with Janie E and Sunny Jim, and then this other life with whether that's Diane or Audrey or nobody or Gordon Cole. Like,
I think that they might be setting that up. Especially with we have watched the next episode, but we're trying not to think about it.
We'll podcast so really soon hard. We know we're behind. We're sorry, guys. We're going to get there.
Hard sometimes.
Sometimes things get off track, like food poisoning, and
some people get food poisoning. Some people go on vacation. Life is just hard.
Which unfortunately is why our fourth member Nate is.
That's also why I was out though too. Maybe it was the same food. Maybe we should stop ordering from the same pizza place. Anyway, other things to consider. So it is I think they'd be silly not to bring that into a conflict of some kind.
Right.
There has to be some...
But it's still like generic kind of too. So it's like, can we be smarter than that?
Yeah, and we only have so much time. That's the other thing is like we could do with where we are in plot development, you could do a full other season. I really think so. And they can only do so much.
Right.
You know? So
These actors are
who knows?
really effing old.
That's where I'm like, we won't likely have another season. I think, and as a Twin Peaks fan, it's a really strange moment in time because it's the one moment in time that's kind of left for you. Like, once this is over, then there isn't another season. There isn't another
probably
thing.
not going to be another season.
Right.
We're probably not going to have some, like, reunions that we want to have. Probably not. Not all the ones
not
that
in the
we're
way
hoping
that we
for.
would, want to.
And
So,
not in the way that we're hoping for.
I mean, even the return is not the same as the original. Of course, you can't exactly capture the feeling of something. So,
although I do think it is going a little bit more back. Obviously, there's more Twin Peaks scenes
more
in
Twin
this
Peaks
episode.
scenes, more plot driven.
Because there's a lot more circles slowly getting together.
Yes.
And that's why I told everyone we need to do a binge watch because we need to catch up on what we might have missed. Stay tuned for a bonus episode.
Yes.
What we might have missed that we know now and see the connections that were happening in episodes 2 versus episode 13 now that we're almost done with it.
Right.
Because now that we're almost done, we kind of see connections that we didn't see in the beginning.
Yes, absolutely. I really think one of David Lynch's methods of telling the story that's so interesting is just this technique of dropping you in the middle of a story and then letting you expand outward and figure it out. It's such a different way than we're used to being told. Even when we seemingly get dropped into the middle of a story in a TV show that we think is a very intelligent show, they feed us a lot. Right. They really do. They help us along. They give us clues. They push us in a certain direction. David Lynch just gives you nothing and lets you stumble blind and lets the story unfold as it would if you really did just stumble into a stranger's apartment, and really had no context around their life, which is and the actors are in that headspace too, because he only gives the actors like a page of the script a day. It's a really weird and interesting way to tell a story that if you get hooked into, you kind of don't look at anything else the same, I think.
Right.
Like,
I will never look at Kyle MacLachlan the same.
Ugh. He's a genius.
So good.
He's so good. And other people are like, oh, a B actor, whatever. No, he can do anything.
He's like Orphan Black Girl.
Agreed. Yes.
I am watching him, and it is a completely different character.
It's
Bad Coop. It's totally Bad Coop.
Ugh. Bad Coop.
Why are your eyes so dark, Bad Coop?
So speaking of Bad Coop, great scene with Bad Coop at the farm with Evil Coop, Ray, and I call them the Rockabillies. Melissa calls them the
weird Irish gang.
Yeah.
They feel very IRA.
They do. They're very white. They're very pale in general.
They're like neo-Nazi, like white, yeah.
Well, because we're in like Montana.
Yeah, we're in Montana.
Also Ray's shirt in this scene, like fashion moment, I love that shirt. It's like a red, like
Ray is dressed like a
very
rockabilly guy. Yeah, he is.
And Ray, I think, is like
he's like the Mississippi guys, or the what are they called? From band. Episode 3, the band.
Who's
sing the Mississippi song.
God, that's such a good song. He does like fit right.
He fits in with
in with that band.
And then the neo-Nazi thing is Muddy, who's just white. We think he either has alopecia or Kelly thinks that he's an albino. Probably
one way or the other. Right. Muddy is amazing. This is a class I'm also discovering with David Lynch and probably with his actors. I'm thinking that like knowing David Lynch's, ties to focusing on the moment and not giving his actors a ton of context, I would imagine you don't really know as an actor if you are a Richard Horne or if you're just random girl in a pie shop. So everyone's endowing their characters with all this like backstory and history and like these secrets and making it really nuanced, not really knowing for sure where that's going to go. Yeah. And Melissa and I were just like loving on Muddy and creating a whole story for Muddy that I think was very there. I think this actor really like nailed this little bit part perfectly. And my theory is that Muddy he's got one law in his life, and that law is arm wrestling.
Clearly.
Whoever wins is the boss.
That's the boss. It makes complete sense to Muddy that whoever wins at arm wrestling is the boss.
And then I like his lazy-eyed, like, minion, too.
Yeah. Oh, and then Melissa, you had a theory about Muddy's past.
Oh, that he was the one that got beaten 14 years. Because Muddy goes into the whole spiel.
Yeah. Spiel.
Oh, Muddy is the long-haired guy.
Long-haired guy, yeah.
No. Oh.
Think of all those men who have tried. Yeah, Muddy's the gray-haired guy who gives the whole
He might have been the one.
speech.
Yeah, he might have been the old boss. Yeah.
Who's the Rizzo?
Rizzo is the bald guy.
No, guys. It's Renzo.
Renzo's
He's the bald guy.
Okay.
Hermione Granger says, yeah. Renzo's the bald guy. Muddy is like the
old guy.
The old guy.
With the lazy eye.
He's the rule reader. He's like, wrestling arm on the table, other arm away from the table. Like he cares about one thing, and that's arm wrestling and the purity of arm wrestling. And I can appreciate that. Muddy knows what he believes in.
It's like, it's been 14 years. Do you know how many people have had this chance?
He really asks that question with like, this isn't rhetorical. I want you to answer how many people you think. He's really impressed by Renzo. Like, he's really believes
Well, obviously everyone in that room.
Yes.
Right.
And I thought it was a great device because you see this group of physically, Kyle MacLachlan is unmanned. You know, whatever we believe of his acting prowess, and I believe his magical penis, whatever, just saying. But there's no way he can defeat all these men twice his size. So the device they come up with is perfect, where they're like, you just have to beat one guy in an arm wrestling contest. And that's totally something we can get behind, and we know that he's going to do it, but the way he does it is interesting, and it's like a cool, dramatic scene. I loved it. I thought it was great.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, he is so confident. Like, it's
like, ooh, and to see Ray
he's not scared of all these men who have guns.
No.
What is this? Kindergarten?
Oh, I love that line, because that's kind of what you're thinking, too. You're like, arm wrestling? What the fuck?
Yeah,
like, these guys are going to settle this with arm wrestling?
This guy was one with Bob for 25
right.
years.
Like, hey, Ray, remember when you killed that guy?
Right.
And they're like, well, you didn't kill him that good. But it's like,
didn't kill him that good, Ray.
Remember when you killed this guy?
Literally, like, Ray.
Yeah.
Do we have to replay episode 8 for you? Ray, I'll do it.
You totally shot him a bunch of times.
Yeah.
Got really creeped out because of the zombie ghosts that were attacking him and then ran away. And you're like,
what are you talking about, Ray?
Maybe he'll be hard to kill again. If he was hard to kill.
Yes,
the first
he's
time,
so,
like,
I mean, kudos to Ray. He is so nonchalant. When he sees Evil Coop, he's like, oh yeah, that guy. I tried to kill him once. As though it was 47 years ago. It's like, literally, he chased you down.
Although it is what he said in episode 8 when he drove away. He was like, I think I killed him, but if I didn't, I'll get him at the farm.
That's true.
So
this is
that's
where
kind of what we're...
Villainy 101.
Yeah.
Listen, villains. Just make sure.
Villain versus villain.
Right. Yeah, Ray is really confident, but it is great to see. Ray is the first one whose confidence wavers. When Coop starts playing with Renzo, which great acting on both sides, like we know they're not really arm wrestling, and the Renzo is turning red and like really efforting.
Veins popping out of his head.
And Kyle MacLachlan looks like just the steeliest, most impenetrable person you ever saw. I mean, it's amazing. And Ray is the first one to start to like want to bolt. And I think Renzo says like, stay put, Ray, or something.
Oh, he wants that arm down first before anyone.
Right.
I mean, he's like, get it down.
Right, of course. I mean, Ray is so stupid to think anyone could beat Evil Coop.
And can I just ask Pat here, because you're the only male, do people punch each other in the back of the head? Is that
that was such a shitty move.
Like, I know that's kind of a dick move, but like, is it something like, how does that even work?
But when you saw Renzo do that, you were like, you are so done.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever seen any guys do that, but I do know Homer
Isn't that
Simpson did that in a
Is
Simpsons
that cold
episode.
cocking someone? Doesn't
Well,
Ed say that?
cold cocking could be when someone's not looking.
Cold cocking.
Cold cocking is when someone's not looking.
Cold cocking is going to be my new vocal warm-up. Cold cocking, cold cocking, cold cocking.
Yeah, I guess that
is a great phrase to say. It really gets those glottal stops going.
He did cold cocking.
Okay, that's what it was. He cold cocked me. It's a very difficult. Try it. It's fun too. It's a fun thing to say.
No, I can barely say it atmospheric music. So
ominous. Ominous is the one that always gets you.
It's really hard. There's
ominous
so
is your kryptonite.
Ominous. Onomatopoeia.
You want to say onomatopoeia for some reason.
Ominous.
In other sad, tragic moments in this episode, because I did think, first of all, 13 up until 13 was my favorite episode, and I thought there were a lot of like really poignantly sad moments that to me really drove this episode. The first one being Coop mouthing so much, and the second one, we knew it was going to happen. They had to do this, but they had to find some way for us to have like a little grain of sympathy for Richard Horne. And so Richard Horne kind of comes into this scene, and we see then that he must have some tie to this band of Rockabillies, and he's watching, and you know from looking at his face that he knows Evil Cooper is someone of significance to him. Yeah. I won't jump to like, there's my daddy, but he gets a wistful longing of like, this man is important to me. That is undeniable, right? I know you're
pretty cool.
Melissa's a doubter, so let's hear from Melissa.
It's true. I'm just thinking about logistics right now. So, like, we saw Richard. I mean, I guess Richard ran away. That's the big thing.
Right. Richard's like on the lam.
He was doing the drug deal outside of Twin Peaks,
right?
Like, with weird, not
with Red,
right?
Who is dating Shelley,
right?
Yeah,
with his magic drugs.
Okay.
Yep, and then he drove off, and now he's in Montana.
Right, not necessarily to
Irish.
Yeah, well, he drove off after he attempted to murder Miriam.
Like I was
so,
like,
right.
What is that drive? Maybe a day or something.
So
probably because if you remember the coordinates on Diane's phone, it's like right there.
Yeah.
Oh, right, because they're more towards Central Washington.
Yeah, they're all kind of converging, but. The interesting thing then to consider that I haven't really even thought of until now is like, because I took it, what I've enjoyed a lot about Twin Peaks is that you do get these scenes that are just relationship with nothing else. Like, you don't have a context, you don't have a story, but you can watch the relationship unfold. And so with Evil Cooper and Richard, in this scene where Richard's watching Evil Cooper, and at one point, Evil Cooper walks out, and it's like a monitor, so we're to think that Evil Cooper can't be like making eye contact with Richard, but he certainly seems to be like looking at Richard on his way out. Yeah, I mean, so it kind of is making me think: well, do they have a previous relationship? Like, do they know each other? If he is getting this like wistful longing towards him, is it just instinctual, or is it like he knows who this person is for some reason? And so that's where, like, the whole Audrey story that we pivot to later, you could start to layer in.
I don't think so, but maybe. It's definitely possible. It's
a little bit of a stretch.
Yeah.
Yes. I'm just saying there is something there. Whether it's just the instinctual, I'm still having it up with that like guy. the Liv Tyler, Steven Tyler. Like, Liv Tyler apparently just saw Steven Tyler at a concert and was like, that's my dad, and was so convicted about it, and, like, talked to her mom and found out it was true, and, like, found him through just sheer force, like, you are my dad.
I mean, she
like,
got, like,
could be that thing.
All his best qualities.
She did, yeah. She's like, I'm looking in the mirror, and I look gorgeous, like a gorgeous version of you.
Right.
You're really ugly, but so
it could be that. It could be like he's just like watching Evil Coop's greatest hits and being like, man, the way you arm wrestled that dude, I just wish I was you.
Punched him in the face and then
killed him.
Died?
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, he died.
How did
he punched his nose? Like,
theoretically, you can kill someone by punching them and shoving their nose into their brain.
Did
not know that.
It is possible. I mean,
yes, I learned it from Twin Peaks, like from graphically watching it just now.
Just no, but it is real. You could. It is. I mean,
Right.
Yeah.
possibly happen too often, but
And then
it can.
So
happen.
so who knows what the relationship is, but there is this thing that happens with them kind of crossing in the night.
right. And then did we discuss with Ray about all of the stuff that he spewed out before he died? First, I also want to discuss that the starting position that Evil Coop said 3 times.
Yes.
It's like, let's go back to starting
This feels
position
better.
3 times.
Yeah.
And his arm was bent back.
That was a great Pat Dowd call. His arm's bent back. Which, of
He
course...
doesn't like that when his arm is bent back.
That's true.
I don't
That
have to
starting
tell you,
position
listeners,
is-
because you're listening to this podcast. But in case you're like, oh, I thought I'd just pop into Twin Peaks. Sometimes my arm's bent back is part of Lynchiverse in Twin Peaks. It's a Laura Palmer reference in the Red Room.
We always have to have a Laura Palmer reference
It's
in an
true.
episode.
We
How else is she gonna, well, I always say, how else is she going to have a credit? But then her face is everywhere.
Everywhere.
So,
Her face
Because the
Her
town
face.
is just like...
in the credits.
Remember
That's
how...
how she gets the credit.
The funny thing
it's
is,
like,
there
it
are...
opens with just her face.
And that's why she gets every episode, yeah.
Like,
I know.
hundreds of years of prom queen since, not hundreds, but somehow this is still the only prom queen we give a shit about.
It's like when you're an up-and-coming actress and you're like, do this one picture for us, things. And then it's like, oh, I'm a prom queen, cool. And it's like, this is the only thing anyone knows you about, is this one picture. It's become weird and culty. People just walk around with it.
I know. And the ironic thing is that Cheryl Lee is such a good actress. Like, she should, if she wanted to, and maybe she didn't, but if she wanted
people
to,
go to bars and take pictures
She
with
should have
the
had a
picture
career.
when they see that.
It might have
the
happened to
picture.
the 3 of us.
maybe, who knows. So then we get Ray gives a lot of exposition before he's finally killed. I love how we don't even need to like talk about it because it's so obvious that Ray is meeting his demise here. But I think in this scene too, it's like so clear that Ray is a dancer of some kind. Like he's so hip popped, and like even as he's kind of slinking towards death, his core muscles are like perfectly sucked in, and like there's something about Ray that's always so controlled. Up until the minute he dies, you think there's a chance he might not. You know?
I do like Ray.
Ray was great. Kudos, Ray. You did a great job. You are the rockabilly asshole I would have chased after in college for I don't know how long. You might have done a little bit of stand-up. I not very well, but like somewhere in the middle. That's Ray. But yeah, it's Evil Coop gets the coordinates. I love too how Ray's like, why would I ever give that to you? If I do, you'll kill me. Then he gives him the coordinates, and Coop kills him. Like,
right, yeah.
And then we find out, which we've already known, that Philip Jeffries hired to kill him. But I feel like it's more...
Yeah.
It resonated with me more.
Ominous.
I've had some wine, listeners.
Ominous.
I'm sorry. Because we were just talking with, when we inducted Tammy into the Blue Rose Club, the Philip Jeffries there, and then he also discussed...
Yeah, there's been a lot of Philip Jeffries talk.
There's been a lot of it
Could
lately.
you imagine if you hadn't watched Fire Walk with Me, what you'd be thinking right now?
Right, like, who the fuck is this?
Right.
Could you imagine if
it's
David...
Bowie. It's Bowie.
It's Bowie, guys. It's Bowie.
Could you imagine if David Bowie didn't...
If he didn't die, he would have had a part for
I
sure.
gotta imagine
He would have just been
He would have
floating
had
by
a
like a
huge
head.
part. I know.
Although,
that's really
although they
unfortunate.
did film, like, they got the log lady before,
She passed, yeah.
so
That's
maybe
true.
he was never planned. I
No,
don't know.
I think he was planned.
Yeah?
I think he would have been involved.
Well.
And it's really... they would have found some way to involve him. I mean...
They already have.
Yeah, by mentioning him every episode.
Yeah.
But I feel like they would have put more into Fire Walk with Me too, though. But maybe not. Maybe not. What do I know?
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
I mean,
it's
it's
very little in Fire Walk with Me as well, but
Right,
it's...
and now it's all
Yeah.
like
he's
we're
become a
really,
major
like,
character.
We've been like
Every episode,
David
Philip
Lynch is like
Jeffries did
Philip
this.
Jeffries.
Him
And
and
then
Major
suddenly we're
Briggs
like,
are
oh,
big.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, and they do really nicely plot it out for us in the last one with like here were the agents who were involved with it. It was Chad Desmond
Right.
and Dale Cooper and Philip Jeffries and Gordon Cole and Albert. And, like, of those people, it's only Gordon Cole and Albert who are still, like, on this plane of existence. So, I mean, they are very clearly making and the theory about that statue at Lucky 7 being Philip Jeffries or some sort of Bowie nod.
Yes.
Which they certainly, they
Right.
started this episode with that statue.
Mm-hmm.
When we now see that statue, like, at least once
So
an episode.
often.
Yeah, so, I mean, they're making him a major part. It's, you know, unfortunate, of course, for the world and existence that Bowie's dead. It's also unfortunate for Twin Peaks. Like, that would have been really helpful to this story. But it just shows you how, David, this is not for the faint of heart. Like, you are in it or you are not.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Over and over again. But,
Right.
like, every episode, it's like, shit, like, how do people watch this without taking notes?
I know.
Like,
Yeah, well, so, I mean,
we're watching it 4 times.
look at
Right.
Major
It's
Briggs.
true. It's exhausting, quite frankly.
The actor who played Major Briggs, though, he's been dead for 10 years
That's why we
now.
don't see his head.
Well, they do
So-
manage to bring actually his
But
head
he-
and gut
shit.
and
Yeah,
many parts of him into
so
the
you don't
Yeah.
know, like...
Yeah, there's got to be
Yeah.
enough footage of Bowie floating around out there that you could string
Have him
together.
floating somewhere.
Literally,
Yeah.
yes.
But what
Yeah.
I really loved about that scene is he goes, well, he wanted to kill me because they want something
Yes.
something inside is what they want,
Right.
that they want. Something
Which-
inside of you. Which
To
is
is
Evil
gone
Coop.
now.
So we think it's Bob, right? It has to
Right.
be what he's referencing.
and then he pulls out the ring and is like, I was supposed to put this on you and then
Yes.
wait for you to die. Ray, you didn't fucking do that. You just let these
Right.
evil
You let the
homeless-
dick puss.
Yeah.
I do have to say, Ray is pretty chill, really, up until the end. Like,
Right.
Ray just generally seems like he's sort of,
He was,
like,
yeah.
just hanging.
Right.
Always. Like, he's...
It's like,
what makes him so
I
interesting,
like
I
his,
guess.
like, he tried to run away. He was like, so can we talk about this? And then
Yeah.
he, like, tried to run away.
Yeah,
Like,
he's
I
just
was
like,
like-
maybe I could, like, negotiate. Yeah, and I was saying, I think I remember from Fire Walk With Me that Laura wanted to put on the ring because if you put on the ring, you will be killed, but you won't be possessed by Bob.
yeah, that
For some
seems
reason, I got
like-
that in my head.
You can't be
What-
possessed if you have the ring on.
I will say this. I never
It
thought I would
seems.
ever want to see Fire Walk With Me again, but now I'm going
Now
to
you feel
watch
like you
it.
have
I'm
to.
going to fucking watch it again.
No choice, no
Because they
choice.
No
almost,
choice.
I would say, if not more than, at least equally, draw on Fire Walk With
Oh,
Me
I
that,
feel like
as Twin
Fire
Peaks.
Big
Walk
time,
With Me
big
is
time.
like
More than.
the base of all of
Yeah,
this.
it really
Because
is.
It's a lot of the Bob, and it's a lot of the where it's all coming from.
Yes.
It's the mythology.
Yes, you're right.
yeah.
It's the mythology.
That's
It really-
It's like not Monster of the Week if we're talking X-Files.
Right.
It's the mythos.
right.
Yeah.
Yes.
We're like the mill plot that's like Monster of the Week. It all comes back to X-Files.
This is all Smoking Man. All
And when
fucking
it's Smoking Man, it's important.
right.
Pay attention. Other things, we get the Fuscos. Just colorful fun with the Fuscos brothers and their mom calling and just various
Laughing-
debacles
laughing
in the police
Fusco.
department. Like, we don't need them, but they're fun and we like them. That's really all that we need there.
Can I just bring it back one more time to the race scene? Because he goes, where's Philip Jeffries? And he says, the Dutchman's. But I looked, and it's not a real place. And then he gets killed, and he's like, I
Right.
know where it's at.
Which has got to be good call, Melissa, that we need to unpack that.
wow.
Yeah.
Two things.
Yeah.
Dutchman is a Bowie reference,
Oh.
right? Because there's something about Bowie being like the Silver Man or something. There's a Bowie reference there for sure. But
Okay.
also, it's a Bobby Briggs mythology. Like, Papa Briggs made up a story to Bobby Briggs. I would bet you anything that involves, like, the Dutchman that Bobby's going to know about that he'll be able to unlock. And it's part of that fictional place, like the
Jack
Rabbit's
Rabbit's
Palace and
Yeah.
things like that. So, I'm pretty sure, listeners, send it in.
Yeah,
The
we'll check our
Dutchman,
email.
I'm pretty sure it's Bowie. It's something Bowie
But
related.
Evil Coop said he knows where the Dutchman
Yeah.
is.
So because, like, Ray's still talking when he's like, the Dutchman, but it's not a real... And then he interrupts.
kills him.
He's like, I know where it's at.
Right.
And then he shoots him in the face.
Interrupts him with murdering him. Yeah.
Yes.
Good call.
And then the ring goes back to the lodge, and then we see...
Yeah, a lot of plotty stuff happened there, and
Ray's
it's funny how...
soul is in the lodge.
Yeah.
Right.
Which, because he had the ring on, that's why he is now, like,
just
trapped
like
in the
Laura
lodge.
Palmer. She's in there, too. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yep.
What is this ring? Ugh. Will we ever find out?
The ring is
likely
back.
not.
Likely not.
I mean, now we know we're so, like,
but
close
we
to the
also
end.
know that
we're not going to get all the
Dougie had the
answers.
ring in the beginning of this, and then Philip Jeffries got it somehow because remember, that's how Dougie became that the little gold blob.
Yes.
He had the ring.
And it looks
Unless
like...
there's multiple rings, but I feel like there's only one ring.
So that was what I was going to say, is it does look like the type of ring you would get out of a vending machine that is in a little plastic bubble.
It's the fate of having this start in the 90s.
Right, where you're like, is this really the ring? Like, the ring that changes the fate of the world? Yeah, it is. It is. So we learn that Tony is working with a detective, blah, blah, blah. We don't care. Chantal and Hutch.
Oh, he gets a poison from them.
Yes, he gets poison.
He gets poison.
I do enjoy...
And he goes to have coffee with Coop.
Yeah, so he's going to kill Dougie. Or going to try to. I do appreciate how they did set up Tony as kind of a Don Draper-esque guy, and they have just... cudgeled him down completely. And it's cool to see him crumble so quickly when the shit gets real. As it does in the world of Twin Peaks. Like, one day you're working at an insurance agency, the next day you're in the fucking Black Lodge. Like, you don't know how it's going to go. So I do appreciate seeing Tony's journey, also because his paranoia just... causes everything. I mean, he actually probably could have killed Dougie easily had he just gone with his plan, but just loses confidence. So it's interesting to see. Right. I also love, there's a couple little, oh, go ahead, Melissa.
No, I was just going to say, because he was trying to push it off on the brothers, and the brothers are like, now we love him.
Right. The brothers are so
he barely
into
says
him.
a word. It's like, because he had a stroke.
You know what it makes me think?
But it's cool. It's cool.
It does seem
just let it roll. Just fucking let it roll.
Right.
Well, he got him $30 million. So.
Right.
True.
That is true. But I also
think in that oversized box or a head.
Yeah. Is it Gwyneth Paltrow's head or a cherry pie? Those are our two options.
A or B. There's no C.
I do think, not to get all intense, but I see in Dougie this idea of how we really, and we can't help it, but we just are in our own little worlds day to day, and we do a lot of projecting our own stuff onto other people, and we can really build these full relationships just like in our minds. And Dougie is getting the benefit of everyone thinking that he is something that he's not, like he's a vegetable, but everyone projects their own stuff onto him, and it's because he's so quiet and accepting of...
Malleable.
Yes, malleable. That everyone kind of loves it. Because we all kind of want that. We're like, weirdly, like if you think about it, wouldn't you kind of love a Dougie around just like some unjudging, unflinching person who's just observing and listening? And
that's like in New Girl. In New Girl, Nick's friend Tan.
Yes. Exactly.
The
like, it's like, oh,
Asian
Tan,
man.
you're so wise.
Yeah.
He's, like, not saying anything.
Yeah, exactly. It's
yeah.
just like him.
It is an interesting commentary on, like, what we really want in relationships.
I would really want someone to speak and not be a stroke victim. Come on. Because now Jeannie is even letting she's just like, oh, Dougie, you hate getting out of this car, so let me just push you out.
Because at least she's getting laid now. Like, you can tell
and
from that
this
glow.
new BMW.
She has a new car, a lot of money.
Fuck this, all right.
She's like, I'm getting laid. You look like Kyle MacLachlan, and I have a BMW. So life is fine with me. You do what you do, you, Dougie. You do you.
And then like Tony just watches Dougie run into a glass door and then bounce back, being like,
and thinks it's like some brilliant Machiavellian scheme. Like he's like, what is he planning? It's like, no, he's just literally walked into a door.
Like, you can't fucking open the door.
It is fascinating.
Because it's a pull door.
Right. It would be an amazing experiment, and I'm not saying any of us are going to do it, but to see how long you could go at work doing nothing before you got caught. I feel like it could be about 2.5 weeks. I mean, honestly.
It depends on what you mean by nothing.
Like, literally nothing.
No, I think I couldn't do that.
Okay.
It depends on your job probably, too, right?
Right.
Well, yeah. But it's an interesting idea.
I could probably do half my work in a week's time.
Yeah.
No one that I work with listens to this
right.
or knows the industry I'm in. But I could probably dig around for half the time. And no one would really notice because I can cover it up pretty well. But, like, when I was in, like, a non-talking mood, like, one day, like, people are like, is she okay? Like, that's weird.
Well, that's good. That means people are noticing and observing.
Right.
I think
so
the
if
message
I have a stroke, people are going to be like, someone should take this girl to the hospital or something. I mean, is she okay? Like, what's wrong?
I think the message that I see with Dougie is, like, we do live in these worlds where we're so alienated from each other that we don't even notice when fellow people that we're close to are having some sort of breakdown. And that is a consistent theme with, like, Dougie and Candy and Audrey with, like, something's wrong.
I think it's as prevalent here in the Midwest because we have this kind of culture of more, how are you doing?
I don't know, but it's not a genuine, how are you doing? It's
but as long as people are like, I'm good, how are you?
Right.
Instead of like,
I'm fine, thanks, how are you? But like,
how you? It's like, oh, I mean, I guess that would pass.
No, you would totally. There are people in my company that I've never heard speak. And like, I pass them day after day after day, and they're just kind of silent. And that's just them. And
that's true. We have a whole floor of those people.
Right. I think you'd be surprised how long you could get away with Dougie behavior and actually have people be like, you know what, champ, there's something about you that really is giving me a can-do spirit. I mean, because he's still showing up to places. He's still, like, going to his meetings and, like, because he's got a great assistant. I guess that's the key is, like, have a great assistant.
Right.
But, like, he's still showing up places. He's just not contributing at all. But his silence seems like reverential silence to other people.
But because what he contributed to Bushnell by
by drawing Chutes and Ladders.
Yeah.
It's like, Dougie told me all of this already.
Is this actually the story of male privilege? How you can just show up as a zombie, draw Chutes and Ladders, and get the promotion, while the woman is working her ass off and gets nothing? Huh. I don't think so. Given the way David Lynch treats wives,
there's no woman that they're showing.
Right, exactly. Yeah, there's not necessarily wonderful feminine representation
Phil
either.
Bisbee or whatever.
Yeah, Phil Bisbee is like the shining example of the one employee you definitely want. You're like, get me 7 Phil Bisbees and I'll take over the world. Yeah, he's amazing. So Tony does try to murder Dougie through asking him to coffee, and through the magic of dandruff, Dougie...
That's what I put here, too.
I thought it was dandruff. I think it's supposed to be like Black Lodge powers of deduction of like there's something wrong.
I thought it was like legit dandruff.
I mean, maybe
I thought
just
it was dandruff too, but because he saw it so clearly, I think that was part
of
like
Black Lodge. It was like dandruff plus Black Lodge powers.
Because he also just like pokes him and kind of like just pokes his back, and then Tony and then we stare at the red chair with the poison coffee in front of it, and it's like, Lynch, we get it.
I also love how in classic, I mean, this shows how beloved Twin Peaks is, that like every little speaking role is some brilliant actor or actress. The waitress in this scene,
I know, I did a whole IMDb, like,
she's awesome. She's so phenomenal.
Tunnel.
Yeah, she's just a great actress. Of course, we're not going to remember her name because we're those people. But
she was in Grace Point, though.
Yeah, just phenomenal. Yeah, just a phenomenal actress for a very, very small part that really is just a throwaway little part. And does a great job, and it's awesome. And I like, too, how she has, like, the orange uniform, and, like, it's, like, the opposite of the double R.
Yeah, she has, like, a double R.
And then
And they have cherry pie too.
Yes,
Right.
it's the cherry pie that draws Ducky in. Apparently, in the life of Special Agent Dale Cooper, the most memorable thing is cherry pie from Twin Peaks.
Pie.
That is starting to
They're
irk
the
me
monster.
just a little bit. Like, I'm like, there's not one thing in his life that was more meaningful to him. Like,
remember when he slept with that wife, or
right,
Annie
or Audrey? Like
there's so many.
someone besides cherry pie. Like, I'm literally insulted for Heather Graham and Sherilyn Fenn right now.
Right. So here's my question also with that scene is, as if you were going to poison someone and then they were like, I caught you, would you take the coffee and run to the bathroom to dump it out? Or would you just find any plant, trash can?
What did he do?
He ran
He
to
just
the
ran
He went to the
crying.
bathroom?
He ran to the bathroom crying, dumped it in the urinal. That's where Urinal Man
Right.
that's
Oh yeah,
credited
Urinal
on.
Man was like so funny. That was great.
Don't mind that pour.
We're just whining and dining during Twin Peaks. You need
But
it.
I just thought it was
Listeners, you need
really
it.
interesting that he took the coffee, ran away to the bathroom to dump it out. Because then the urinal guy's like, that bad, huh?
Right, which was cute. I guess
it was just for the...
I thought it was just to show how bumbling Tony was, that he just, like, is not meant to be doing these things. Like,
But wouldn't you just, like, toss it somewhere?
Tony is so out of his mind with stress right now. He just doesn't know where he is or what he's doing.
He's torn too. Like,
yeah.
he doesn't want to kill Doug.
Yeah, I actually really came to think that this actor did an awesome job in this episode who played Tony. Because, like, the shift is so...
right?
Oh, yeah. Yes. It's funny.
I know that from Celebrity Rehab.
I'll, like, know the name of Michael Ontkean, but then, like, not an actual celebrity.
Like, half the time I'm like, am I saying the right Twin Peaks actress? Because, like, sometimes Kelly will just drop it like it's no other. I was like, I know this. I know it's so bad. And then she'll finally be like, you know, Audrey.
Oh my god. My coworker is doing a Jeopardy game for The Office, and one of the categories is 90s TV. And she came to me for a Twin Peaks question, and she had to water it down because I gave her like she's like, oh, I was thinking more like, what's the name of the agent? Like, I was ready to go like, Angelo Badalamenti was the one who, like, getting real deep with it.
Does not surprise me.
Yeah.
I have casual conversations, and we've been doing this for, I don't know, since February.
It's real bad. You
Who
don't
is
want to
the main
unlock the gate.
detective in Twin Peaks?
That's the question. And the answer is Special Agent Dale Cooper.
And you're like, who played the boy? That was
Whose son was the original creepy corn boy?
Who was the agent who disappeared?
Name
Firewalk
the
with
following agent did not disappear to the Black Lodge. Just give the category of agents. Like, we're cracking up. No one else is laughing. No one else is
As Albert or Gordon.
Right, exactly.
Right.
You're like, Tammy. Albert. Like, Tammy Preston. What is Albert's last name? I don't even...
Oh, I don't even know either. Does he have a
Oh my
last name?
god.
Rosenfeld.
Rosenfeld! Yes,
Rosenfeld.
Rosenfeld. Oh my god. Whoa.
I hate you.
Rosenflower.
Rosenflower.
I like to imagine Andy and Albert have reconciled now. We haven't seen them together, but I want to see them just, like, hug it out. That's one of my goals
That's
for
a
this
good
episode.
point, because Harry and Albert loved each other.
In the end.
In the
that,
end,
that
but-
was, like,
But not
the
necessarily.
cutest.
I don't know. Yeah, but you're right. Not necessarily Andy.
Well, as we know, the chain of love goes that there's Cooper, Harry's in love with Cooper, and Andy's in love with Harry.
And then Albert's in love with
Cooper also.
Cooper.
Everyone loves
Because
Cooper.
who doesn't love
Everyone
Cooper?
I'll
loves
go
Cooper.
see Cooper.
And
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I
Andy loves
realize
Cooper.
I totally effed up your segue about the orange uniform is different than the R&R.
It's
Going
okay.
into the R&R.
You have learned to know me so well that you know my horrible transitions. Guys, I don't know if you've picked this up from our past podcasts, but I'm a corporate trainer. And when I say it like I'm an alcoholic. And one of the top 5 skills of corporate training our transitions and moderation.
I mean, you are a very good moderator.
Moderate that shit. Hopefully none of my trainees have ever listened to this podcast because my credibility would be shot. Or gained completely.
I think
with those 7 weirdos that I want to gain credibility with.
Right. Those are
you Stone Cold weirdos are the ones that we are podcasting for. So, Double R, transition into Shelley. This is a great one. And you called it, Melissa, once like, we need a slice of peaks, or we need like a little bit of peaksiness.
Right.
And that's what this scene is.
Because it gives us a little
taste.
It's our cleanse.
Yeah.
It's like that weird ice cream you're supposed to have before
sorbet.
Courses.
And we've been talking about these transitional scenes, and I think you could make an argument that this one's a transitional scene.
Oh, you're right. It totally is. I didn't really realize that until I'm looking at my notes.
And I think, in a way, it's weird because I need them. You know, like watching this series, I realized that my attention span, the way it is in our modern society, like I need the palate cleanse scenes where like nothing actually happens. I maybe get a little shot of character or something, ambiance something, but then we move on to like the real plot.
We're back to the characters we love for just that moment where we're like, Shelley.
It's true.
Oh, Shelley.
And like Norma and Shelley, if we were doing a Greek tragedy, they would be the chorus. Like they're the framers. They're in the, like their plots were never, to me, like ever, they never felt like A plots, even when they were kind of driven to the front.
Right.
But they were like the two observers that are always in the frame, always in the peripheral.
Yeah, they were
like,
never
right.
like the main.
So Double R to us is like a central station of like, let's regather, let's regroup. Nothing crazy's ever going down at the Double R.
Right, because that's always how it was in the original, too. It was like, oh, there's a log lady with her log. And Major Briggs sitting next to each other, just having some pie.
Exactly. That's where you're like, quick run into the bathroom, getting some water, whatever, coming back.
And then now we're in the heavy shit.
Exactly. So, and you need it when you're at this consistent pitch of electricity to like use a Lynchian term. So we do have this transition.
Static.
And I
humming.
gotta say, I've been back and forth on Amanda Seyfried in this role, but she just nails it in this scene with Shelley, where Shelley mentions, which is it's so cute for both of those characters, that Becky kind of spills her heart out about like her relationship and this dark shit, and all that Shelley really knows to say is like, come over and I'll get you a big slice of cherry pie. You know, she just
gets her.
And that gets her, and she's like, oh God, that sounds so good.
Because cherry pie is like crack.
It is, it's
the
so
double R
good.
cherry pie, that is.
And I just think it's a lovely mother-daughter relationship. It's a sweet, like, womanly moment of honesty. Like, you know how when one of your friends is like, eat this cookie, and I'm like, no, oh God, yep. You know, it's just the greatest, like, girl bonding thing. Yes.
And it's like, because Shelley hates her husband anyway, she's like, Becky's like, Steven's been gone for 2 days.
Yeah.
And she's like, that's okay. Like, do you want some pie?
Oh my God.
That's
so good.
One of my favorites is I had a friend that went through, we call it the sad weekend, when she broke up with one of her friends. And I'm not very good with emotions, but I will feed you liquor and food until you explode. So it was just like, all right, well, here's a shot. Where me and my roommate were like, how much money do you have? Because we had just moved to the city. We were early 20-somethings. We're like, all right, well, let's go get dollar shots somewhere. Like, how much is this?
It's
and
true.
It was just like, here's all of my money.
Well, and that is, in a weird way, being good with emotions. You're giving her what she needs in that moment.
And we're just like, this is what you need. You don't want this shot, but
you're going to take it. Have a little redhead slut on me.
Right.
That was remember when we first started dating, that was my shot? The redhead slut?
I remember.
That was the shot that I took. Oh my God.
It's a delicious
It's funny because I now am a redhead slut. Listeners, I used to be brunette and ironically transitioned into auburn. For someone who makes fun of gingers as much as I do, I spent a lot of money trying to look like a ginger.
But I feel like Auburns are not ginger.
Auburns are a different class. What?
Right.
Who said that's just terrible?
Yeah.
Guys, we don't really hate gingers.
No, Kelly might.
So,
some of the other ones of us might not, but Kelly is pretty.
I got bullied
adamant.
in high school by a ginger male, and that's the root of this whole thing. That's the true honesty. Yep, it's true. Yes.
Just keep drinking the wine.
Kevin, you know who you
truth
are. You know who you
spills
are. So, because
You're a
he's
head
really
podcaster now.
listening to this podcast. He's in jail.
Just like Hank Jennings.
I'd like to think that.
Because we also had this conversation previous to
yeah,
podcast.
where's Hank?
Where's Hank?
Nobody knows. There's certain characters we just don't worry about. But
And
one
Hank
character we do worry about is Big Ed. And holy shit, I just am not even ready to get into this.
Do we want to jump back to Tony, though?
Yes, we should for sure.
Yeah, so let's,
First there's a Tony.
after the palate cleansing Shelley, it's Tony just crying in Bushnell's office, which is a whiskey, right? Bushnell's a whiskey, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. And then Bushnell, I love Bushnell. I love his poster of him as the former boxing champion.
Mm. And
I love that the brothers know him as Battle and Bud.
Right.
It's so great.
Because then it's just like, then Tony just confesses anything.
Everything.
Confess now.
It takes so
Right.
little.
And he's like, I'm going to confess. And then Dougie's like, confess. And then he's
Yeah.
like, I am,
Dougie. Lay off of me, Dougie. Yeah. It's amazing how it does show me, say less. I guess listeners are like, no shit, Kelly, say less. But, I mean, Dougie says 7 words a day and is super successful in his life.
No, I had
It's
my
a TV show as
one of
well.
my work,
I
like,
know.
quote unquote mentors. She was a negotiator, and what she would do is she would just sit there, and she's like, "You just sit here long enough."
Oh my God,
they
it
fill it in,
unnerves you.
and then they're
Oof.
like, and then they just kind of, and I have to check myself to do that
Yes.
because I'm one of those that's like,
Are you okay?
yeah.
How can I better accommodate your needs? Yeah, totally. That is interesting. Yes, and I do appreciate Tony's story in this episode. I think he does a great job. It's a fascinating way to show us, basically, from a plot standpoint, not much. I mean, it's just like another person trying to kill Dougie who doesn't. But I
Right.
think that the real piece is just the disconnect between the reality and what Tony's perceiving. And more I'm seeing this piece of like everyone's alienated from each other. Like nobody knows other people's experiences.
right.
Right.
But I also think it's slowly getting to the point where we had Vegas in the beginning, and we didn't know who this guy was, and now we
Right.
know it's Duncan Todd, and Duncan
Yes.
Todd was against Bushnell for some reason. So
Yes.
Tony was. So it's slowly
Coming
together,
slowly
yeah.
coming
Right.
together.
Our
We
Dakota
still
people are
know
coming
how-
to Twin Peaks and
How Argentina's related to all of that.
that one's a temple scratcher, that is. But we'll get there. I've no doubts. I mean, I keep using this, it's the most tired analogy, but it does feel like this tapestry where if you're up close, you're just going to see kind of a blotch of colors, but if you pull away, you're going to see
As
the big
Cher
picture.
said,
Very good,
it's a
yeah.
full-on Monet. From
Yes.
up close, it's a big old. From far away, it's fine, but up close, it's a
A
big
big
old
mess. Or
That's
yeah.
from Clueless.
Ooh, I love it. Yes, agreed.
Poetic.
I mean, it does feel very deliberate. Where I think there were parts of the original Twin Peaks series that were obviously not cohesive, a little bit haphazard, kind of, and some of the charm came from just circumstance. This all feels extremely deliberate.
Right.
And there's nothing
yeah.
here that's a mistake or like,
Right.
oops, we just added this random thing for funsies. It's all like planned and,
Right.
executed. So I would say one of my highlight scenes of this season is the scene where Bobby comes into the Double R and is about to eat alone and gets waited on by a lovely auburn-haired, no, auburn, not ginger-haired waitress. And he's about to eat alone, and Big Ed says, like, it's no good eating alone. Come eat with him and Norma.
Right.
And it's Ed's first scene that we see him.
Right.
Uh,
Bobby
Big
does
scene, big
ask
scene.
if Shelley's around, though.
Oh, right.
That's
Yes,
the
he's
first
looking
thing.
for Shelley, which is sad in and of. So it's right away a
Which
sad
she was
tone.
just there.
But she left.
She just left.
She had
Yeah.
just
That's
left.
what Norma
Okay.
says. Oh, she's already left.
I mean, you get the sense from Bobby and Shelley's relationship to this point that Bobby is not the one who wanted this relationship to end.
Yeah.
Like, he
Right.
seems to still be in love with
Yeah.
Shelley, and Shelley seems to be moved on. And so you already get this kind of pall of loneliness, and then he gets pulled into Ed and Norma's booth, which just, to me, this idea is on par sadness level, not on par with, but it's extremely sad, close to like Sarah Palmer sad.
Well, it's
a different kind of sad.
Different kind of sad.
The idea of Ed and Norma,
It's a
who have
loneliness.
loved each other passionately since they were like 16 years old, just living in the same town and being
And
in this
maybe
perpetual affair.
That's what Twin Peaks is. You can't have the happiness. You
Right.
can't have the happy ending.
Right.
Because those are the coordinates.
Interesting
So,
theory.
like, no one
Like, it's like this, like, you can't, right, because
can
you
achieve
think,
that
what is
because
stopping?
of everything that's happening. Just
Right.
like without you knowing it.
It's just
Except there's always Andy and Lucy. That's the only
right,
happy
they're the only ones, and it's like, they're only happy because they're a little bit dim.
Right.
Like,
they don't know.
Yeah, they don't know any better. I mean, it's really sad to see Bobby and Ed and Norma in a booth together. All three of them are basically alone. I mean, Norma has a boy toy, but we know, because we know Norma, that it's nothing to her. And, like, Ed is in love with Norma. Bobby is in love with Shelley. The other thing that makes it, like, tingingly, achingly sad, too, is, like, it, to me, feels like these actors having a reunion too, and like Bobby's the youngster with like the slightly older actors, and they're treating him like a teenager because Ed says something like Deputy Briggs in like a way that like my dad would say like Counselor Kelly if I were a counselor or something, like with a title of like in a joking way teasing someone that you know and love from childhood, and the whole scene is like dripping with nostalgia, aching with like what you don't have and what you're missing. And I just,
because this
so
verifies for us as the audience that Ed and Norma didn't
end up together. Right.
Because
I'm so sad.
Right.
And what astonishes me too, I looked up a little bit this actor because I really love him. I think he does a great job. Like Ed has never missed a beat for me. Like never has there been a scene that Ed has done that I've thought, I don't believe that, or like he could have done better. I always get him. I always think he's pitch perfect.
In Children Under the Stairs, so
with Nadine.
Yeah,
I know, but he hasn't really been in a lot. I feel like he kind of also left acting.
He was in Dune,
but that was before.
That was before Twin
Peaks,
yeah.
Because Kyle MacLachlan was like a baby in Dune.
Yeah.
So he hasn't really done a whole lot, at least in film. And if this is his, like, coming back, he did it effortlessly and without any, like... I mean, he was brilliant in this episode. Absolutely. And the episode hinged completely on him in the last scene, which we'll get to in a little bit. But, like, Ed was the pivotal thing for me in this episode that had to happen and had to be perfect. Yeah. And he nailed it. I don't see any way he could have been better.
Right. And the whole Norma scene annoyed me a little bit. I'm not going to lie. First,
there was a lot going on.
First thing that annoyed me is we only see Norma in front of notebooks. Which is cool. Right. It's fine. You really love doing accounting.
Yes.
Whatever. But you don't have a computer. It's fine. Second, in this episode, I noticed that she even put a little desk lamp in her booth, which also really bothered me.
Yeah.
And second, like, her business manager, Walter, just pulls out an iPad, shows her some charts, and she's like, I don't know what that is.
I know.
And it's like, come on, you can try. You can try.
Well, okay.
You have 5 franchisees.
Yes.
For Norma's Double R. So,
true. I think what's going on here...
And only 3 of them are successful.
True. 3 not... Yeah.
Not
3, damn it.
Not the flag.
Okay, so I think what's going on in that scene, and I totally get you, but I think that, first of all, we have to assume David Lynch has never been in conventional 9-to-5 business. So all of his ideas of 9-to-5 business are coming from friends and movies. Like, and that's cool. Like,
the executives that he has to meet with.
Exactly. So he doesn't totally know what that world is like. And I think what he's trying to make a commentary on is this, like, loss of this small town innocence and the small businesses because they're trying to turn Norma's into this giant franchise, and she just wants to make things right and do things properly and nutritiously, but the big stores want to come in and turn her into a McDonald's.
Into like a scientific role.
Right. But what I think he inadvertently did in trying to show, he made a choice to make Norma older than the guy who she's both sleeping with and is her business partner. He inadvertently made it seem like she was like a dumb woman compared to like a business savvy man, which I know he did not intend. I think his message was like small business being clobbered by like technology and AI and like the loss of ingenuity in the small business world. But accidentally, by casting the way he did, it gave me a little bit of like, I don't love this and the way it feels, because it feels very much like the dumb soft skills woman needs the data hard-minded man to tell her how to do it.
Or it's just more of small town versus big
right.
city.
And I think that's what he meant entirely. Right. But I do think the scene could take a slightly based on just Norma. And you're right. Like, she is very old school. She's got like an old like accounting like with a roll machine.
Yeah, she has her like weird like pressy button
and
thing.
she keeps saying like, if you can explain it to me.
Yeah, not like a real calculator, but like the accounting calculator where like, paper comes out of it.
Right. Yeah.
But like,
I got
it's the big one. It's the big one. It looks like a.
It does feel like they're a step away, because when they were saying like you're the face of Norma's, I feel like if we followed that plot line another season, they'd be like recasting the face of Norma's as like a hot young girl.
Right.
Like, it's that kind of progression, which is sad to see, and I think it's a totally noble, cool commentary on David Lynch's part. I think it suffers a bit from his lack of knowledge of what corporate America is like actually like.
But side note, I really hope Shelley got in on this franchise business.
I know.
That would maybe help a little bit, but not just be a waitress.
Well, you gotta feel like
seen her house yet.
But you gotta feel like Norma's a little bit gotta be screwed too. I mean, she's still wearing the little uniform and a cardigan and like
probably is.
Like,
that guy is probably taking
swindling her.
Only 3 out of the 5 are making a profit.
It is really sad that like if you saw an age difference like that, reverse gender was like an older man, younger woman, you wouldn't balk. But the way we've seen it, I'm like, what does he want from her? What's he trying to get? Like, I don't believe it as like a genuine relationship, which is terrible, but that's just kind of the way that we're programmed in the world. It sucks. But
then we get into Nadine and Dr. Ann, which is one of your favorites.
I do think, and I think it might be a transitional scene. I don't know if it's like a plot line that really matters to the plot.
Doubt it, yeah, right.
But I think it's the loveliest, sweetest scene, and like these two people belong together. Like this is a perfect couple, Nadine and Jacoby. They're so cute with just like glee, realizing each other as mutual fans. I love too Jacoby doing like I call it mentionitis, when you have a crush on someone and you just kind of mention them in casual conversation a lot.
Oh.
This happened a lot when my dad was dating. I was single and pathetic in high school and like waiting up for my dad. But he'd like start mentioning some girl in conversation, and the next thing you knew, they were like dating. And I was like, oh, mentionitis is when you start like casually mentioning someone and then they become like important. And Jacoby's like, I remember when you were in the grocery store picking up potatoes, and he like remembers in detail this interaction because
7 years ago
he had a big crush on her. 7. Every time we do a number, we'll just whisper it. He had a big crush on her. It was super
3
cute.
or 7.
Super cute. Love Jacoby and Nadine. I just think it's perfect. I don't know. like the weird thing is like Nadine and Ed just be like besties who live together and see other people. Like that's okay too. I get that you guys like each other and you have a good cohabitation situation.
Fairness, we don't know that
we don't know if they're together.
That's true. Yeah,
we know that both Ned and Nadine have wedding rings.
Right. That's true. That's fair.
But we don't know that.
We don't know.
We assume because of how Twin Peaks ended.
Right.
Who knows?
It's true. We don't know for sure.
Yeah.
So, just great scene. Wish them nothing but the best. Then again, I loved Mike and Nadine. Maybe I just love Nadine. I think she's just delightful.
She kind of is.
She is.
Grows on you.
She does, doesn't she? I told you she would.
You're like,
you were like not having it. I'm like, she's gonna grow on you.
When she's a 17-year-old in a 40-year-old
body, she's fun as hell. Yeah,
she's so
like,
fun.
I get this. This is understanding.
You want a neck, Mike? Like she's so wonderful. Love Nadine. She's great. Then we get a very less jubilant scene with Mrs. Palmer. Yeah, and Melissa, you mentioned the threading together of these Mrs. Palmer scenes actually does make sense in the grand scheme of things.
Which is why, like, again, we'll have a super special where it's just, we binge watch everything and we try and tie everything together because I was looking at some of these scenes and I was like, I was Googling someone else that we'll talk about and I was like, oh, they were in episode 3? I was like, I'm going to have to go back and just fast forward to that scene and like rewatch it. I was like, shit, there's so much going on right here that we just kind of was like, oh, I don't know, there's Shelley, yay! And James, what? But then there's all these other little hints.
So many. From the very start. Did we get confirmation that Billy is referenced in that double R scene, or did I make that up? I feel like I might have had a dream about that, and that might not have been true.
I didn't
okay, we'll have to look that up.
I just watched the bar scene again, like, because I was like, as I was watching, I was like, shit, we're gonna have to do like marathon.
Right, and that's where it's a different way.
It's just gonna be us and 15 hours?
Yeah, Melissa texted me and was like, that will mean we'll have to spend like 15 hours together. And I was like, oh, boo-hoo. What a terrible day for me.
I know.
Wearing matching pajamas.
Go in and out. Well, obviously, it's like a sleepover.
Yeah.
That was also going to be
I'm
one
like,
of my
are
themes.
we wearing like mud masks?
I'm up for it.
Pat's curling her hair.
I have a mask that makes you look like a panda.
Ooh, pandas are the cutest, but also one of the meanest animals.
What?
Interestingly,
Pandas
are giant pandas, not red pandas. Red pandas are sweethearts, but giant pandas are assholes.
I've seen giant pandas in a zoo in
Don't be fooled by their cuteness.
When I was in China,
actually,
it was the saddest zoo
assholes.
I've ever been to.
China?
Yes.
Patrick Dowd.
It was doing the Trump pronunciation.
Oh, okay.
I got it.
Okay, yep. I want our podcast to live outside of Trumpian era and just like exist in a world beyond Trump.
Doesn't exist.
So, Mrs. Palmer watching wrestling shows on a loop, which
with a 10 to 15
it's a boxing match.
15-second loop.
You know what was
and then there's static every time.
Yes. And they really cue you. It's like you know you're a Pavlovian dog in an experiment because it's like tick 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 tick, and then the wrestling happens, and it's like and then like tick, tick, like you like are just totally programmed by this.
Again.
And you know what's weird?
So now it's a real boxing match.
Now it's a match.
Right. Through trickeries of fast forwarding and back and rewinding. There we go. Backwardsing is not a word. It like looped the now it's a real boxing match onto Audrey's scene, and I was like,
like she was watching.
Oh my god, that makes so much sense. So obviously this is a transitional scene, but the transition is this boxing match between Audrey and herself. So are we ready?
Yes.
Are we finished with Mrs. Palmer? Or Audrey and herself. We've got to talk about it, Pat. You and I are not in agreement on this. Melissa has already seen me and Pat like almost come to blows about Audrey disagreements tonight.
Yeah.
So we're gonna all just take a deep breath and just understand that there might be differing viewpoints on the Audrey scene.
My only Sarah Palmer scene, so it's a really sad scene, but she runs out of vodka, then she gets up slowly, very slowly, everything's fucking slow.
Yes.
Goes into a different room, comes back with just a flask of vodka, and just pours a splash. It's like, why did you even bother?
Right.
Oh, because she probably has, like, a legit problem.
I think she has, like, little stashes everywhere, and it's just, like, not even remembering where they are. Which I didn't get until this time. I was like, oh, we're really at that level of, like... And also, her whole room has mirrors everywhere, which is never good. But the transition between this scene and the Audrey scene is very... well done. Like, it actually makes a lot of sense. And there's a well-placed mirror in the Audrey scene as well. So, first thing I notice in this Audrey scene, even though we've picked up exactly where we left off in the last episode with this continuing conversation between
Audrey does not have her coat on.
And they're in a different room. Yes. And he's on a different chair. He's in a chair that's a red chair, and it's much more couchy.
Yeah.
She is at a higher level of intensity and disorientation than she was the last scene that we saw her, which the last scene was Charlie got the call from Tina and received some news that he wouldn't share with Audrey. And Audrey's trying to get it out of him in this exchange. What I noticed in this exchange is that she is extremely disoriented, which... You know, we see right away what I think is so interesting about having, like, no context and no plot points that we know. The only things we know Audrey, and we know the Roadhouse.
Well, could I talk about the next episode, though?
No.
Okay, then I can't defend my thought on that.
Well, because Pat thinks that something that we heard in the last episode is what's happening.
Well, why don't we do this?
It only stands to reason, because why would Tina know about Richard?
Okay,
she would know about Billy.
Time out.
Billy is the one who ran into her house.
Listeners, if you haven't watched 14, stop listening now. We'll give you 3 seconds of us going... Now.
Or James Hurley just singing that one song.
We can skip that.
Just you and I. Okay, if you're still listening, then you're getting fucking spoilers. Pat, you may defend your honor.
Okay. So I think
we'll also hear this in the next episode.
Audrey,
that's true.
I think that Charlie told Audrey about Billy running into the kitchen bleeding from his face, which is the story we hear in episode 14.
From Tina's daughter.
Fair.
From Tina's daughter.
Certainly
which only
possible.
Makes sense, because why would Tina... Because Tina, you know, they experienced that. They don't know about Richard running over a kid. Why would she know about that?
Fair. Fair point. Certainly possible. Certainly possible. I'm going to throw out a theory just to float it out. It might be 100% bullshit. But I think there is a chance that Audrey is actually in a mental institution right now of some kind. It's a stretch, but follow me along here. Because if not in a mental institution, you have to give me that there is something clinical about her relationship with Charlie.
Right.
Right? Like, it's not... He is a caregiver, not a husband.
Right.
And that, to me, is very clear.
But I think that there's also some kind of power that Charlie holds over Audrey in some way that's above, that's different than a caregiver, because it's more sinister. It's more, there's more of a darkness to it, because when...
It's more sinister. Yeah.
Right.
Well, because he references...
She had to make some sort of deal with him in order to get
which
out
we
of...
know from
and
the
I
last
question
episode.
if it wasn't her deal, if it was Ben's deal, and that's what the rift is. Like, I think that Ben brokered with Charlie for this, whatever this deal is, to...
Oh, how could that be,
but
though?
I don't know.
It could, I mean, I'm not saying for sure, but...
Audrey was a hot young thing, and Charlie was Charlie.
A business partner or whatever.
He's like, I'm going to, but there's something sinister. I agree with how they interact is more, he's trying to like care for her. But he also says things, because when she goes into her rant about, I feel like I'm someone else.
Yes.
Like I'm somewhere else. I'm somebody else. I'm not
right.
me. Don't you ever feel like that?
And he says, like, no.
What are you talking about?
Right.
And then he's like, stop playing games or I will end your story.
I'll end your story.
Which sounds kind of sinister and like
that's
dark.
Weird, yeah.
Well, that...
She's like, what story is that? The story of the
little girl who lived down the lane.
Which I assume that maybe he was a neighbor, that she was knocked up. Maybe she was a knocked up kid. Yeah. Assuming that Richard is
Melissa, we have to.
Until Lynch gives
Until we prove that it's not true. Right now, the further evidence would conclude that Richard is her child.
Yeah, but until Lynch puts it on a small red platter for me with a big number 3 on top of it.
Oh my God. David Lynch, it will be the day of days when me and Melissa get to one of us gloat over this situation.
But I'm still not fully convinced.
I mean, I certainly recognize that I am holding the more popular stance, but at this point, it feels irrefutable to me. Like, it just seems like it's...
I mean, I can't see it any other way.
Who else could this person possibly be parented by? But... I do agree that
being in a mental hospital.
Maybe not a mental hospital.
She could be.
But there's a couple clues. Okay, I just want to float this theory because remember when I floated the theory about doppelganger Coop and good Coop being in the Black Lodge for 25 years and I was right? So she says this is like Ghostwood. That's clue number 2. Number 1's a different one, which I'm going to... I don't like to go in linear order, apparently.
Put all the plot points in there. Number 14.
She's like, this is like Ghostwood, and I like to think, because we know that Ghostwood was the plot of land that was super contested between Catherine and Ben.
And that's where the owls were, right?
Right.
Yes, we don't know who ended up winning.
I think, it was turned into, like, Ghostwood Memorial Mental Institution, and she was there recovering for a while from her coma and trying to remember. She says, "I feel like I'm somewhere. I feel like I'm somewhere else, and I'm somebody else." So that's kind of, and he says this is existential crisis 101. So he calls it out in clinical psychological terms, which is where I'm like, he is a psychiatrist. Maybe he's not her psychiatrist, but he is a psychiatrist. And that, to me, is very clear in this episode. And then...
It could be,
the big one is that she says, I want to stay and I want to go. Which to me is like... Because he's saying, you seemed like you wanted to go. Now it seems like you want to stay. About going to the Roadhouse. But obviously the Roadhouse has taken on this deeper meaning to her about, like, moving on to some sort of understanding or going somewhere, because the Roadhouse for us is north right now. Like, that's the only thing. We know the Roadhouse and we know Audrey. We don't know any of these other people. We know that Audrey would know where the Roadhouse is. So our Audrey not knowing where the Roadhouse is gives us the one clue that we need about Audrey, which is she doesn't know where the Roadhouse is. Something is wrong with her.
But Charlie does say you know where the Roadhouse is. Audrey.
But then she goes into that rant about
she's confused. She's having a bad moment. She's disoriented.
But my thing that disrupts that is that Charlie is like, well, I'm going to take you to the Roadhouse. Like, I was always going to take you. And then she's like, is it far?
Right. She goes from very...
Yeah.
And then he's like, are you on drugs? And that's where he goes with, like, stop playing these games or I'll end your story, which is very counterintuitive to...
Right. If he's her psychiatrist, he wouldn't say that.
So to piggyback off of your theory, I think that maybe he's just like So assuming that maybe Audrey was a young pregnant girl.
Right, which we can at least agree that the Audrey we're seeing right now is not at the same mental capacity as the Audrey we saw at the end of season 2. Correct? Like, we can agree.
Yes.
All right. So we've gotten to that, at least.
I think that, to me, Charlie is a little bit older gent who lived down the lane from them growing up, who took Audrey in, but because Audrey had a lot of mental problems, has been through all the psychiatry with her. So he knows the terms like
existential crisis.
Yes, where he's like, "This, you're having one of these again,
right?
Because you don't know what's happening, or because he goes, are you on?" Does he say, "Are you on drugs?"
Yes, he says,
yes.
"If I didn't know any better," and he's doing that Lynchy thing, and this is a Lynch favorite actor. He was in Mulholland Drive as the producer, right? He's the producer who wants them to cast the one girl.
Yeah, I think so.
Which Melissa and I are going to do. We're committing now. Melissa and I are doing a bonus episode where Melissa watches Mulholland Drive. Like, for sure.
Yay.
We got to do it. It's a must. I feel like it's the closest to Twin Peaks universe.
I tried back in the day because it was having such
But you wouldn't back in the day it wouldn't have meant. Right. Now it will mean something. All these characters are there. Like, truly, Duncan Todd, this guy. There's like peripheral characters that I think are. Yeah. Naomi Watts' character literally is Janie E. Jane. Like it's a complete transition.
Very well.
Cardigan to cardigan, from one to the other. Twin set to twin set.
The arm
Twin Peaks to
Mulholland.
Mulholland.
The arm is in Mulholland Drive.
Oh.
The Man from Another Place.
Yes, Man from Another Place. It's like so much.
Not Bubblegum
Lara
Bush.
Del Rio, the singer.
Oh yeah,
who was just like the greatest singer.
Because I was Googling her. When
oh my god,
I was like,
she's
this is
so
amazing.
good. This singer,
like,
Rebecca Del Rio.
Oh no, Rebecca Del Rio. Yeah, it's 14 that has the really, really good singer, but there was a great singer in 14. Yeah, it all totally ties together. This actor is in Mulholland Drive in another role that's sort of clinical and distant, and I think that's what, to me, he is so. What's always striking about the two scenes, and again, all we've really got is their relationship with each other. All these other pieces of information are just noise because we don't know who Billy or Tina or anyone is. All we know is here's our beloved Audrey and a stranger in a room together, and how are they interacting? And the way they're interacting is that he is at such a lower level of stakes than she is. I mean, she is so... And Sherilyn Fenn is so good. I mean, she's so just overwhelmed with emotion about her confusion, about her disorientation, about what she wants and needs. And he is so calm and detached that it really makes you feel like this scene, I was super sad because it was like my beloved, it's like watching...
No, I agree.
Things about Carrie Fisher dying. You know, like it's like your beloved princess of sass being
I just watched
shackled.
her HBO documentary with
so good.
Debbie Reynolds.
Oh my god! And I put them on the same level of like
yesterday,
like sassy, cool, tough broads. You know, and like Audrey is our girl. I mean, she's tough, she's sassy, she never misses a beat. She goes through horrific trauma with a plum.
Right.
You know, like, and here she is just still...
She's fraying.
Yes, she's fraying. That's the perfect word. It's so sad.
Right. No, I agree. Because she was this sassy, like, sexy, like, vixen almost.
Yes.
But it was...
And she looks beautiful. It's nothing to do with aging. Because that would be the easy thing to go to is like, okay, well, anyone with 25 years is going to look a little bit more, whatever, weathered. But Sherilyn Fenn looks awesome. It's not that at all.
It's
emotional. It's the emotional baggage that she has that she didn't have before. Like, I would almost call Audrey, like, plucky in the first two series. Like, she had this sort of joie de vivre, like, I'm just going to take life by the horns. I'm going to do whatever. Even after she gets, like, kidnapped and almost raped by her dad and addicted to heroin, she's got, like, a can-do spirit that just goes on.
She's and like, here... Dad, we're going to forget all of that. I'm going to run your business.
Right. Which does make you wonder, what is worse than that? That is making her...
It could be argued that eventually that would have came back and haunted her a little more than...
That is a good point, Pat. Like, PTSD can creep up at any time.
But then once she was blown up, I mean, that sealed
Right.
the deal, and who knows what else shit she's been through in 25 years.
Right. I do think they would be fools to not take, like, when they said Sherilyn Fenn was going to be in The Return, I was like, oh, are they disregarding that she got blown up completely? I think they have to put it into the tapestry of her character. They can't just ignore that she got blown up.
Which they didn't.
Right, which they didn't. So
She's in ICU.
Yeah.
So
in
now,
a coma.
Right.
There has been a cost. I mean, there has been a cost.
I'll believe it when Lynch again presents it in a red.
Well, he visited her. We're not saying.
I mean,
He visited
if
her.
okay, sometimes the truth is just the truth. I'm like, what do they say? What the Freudian saying about like sometimes something is just a something, like a carrot is just a carrot. Like sometimes it really is the simplest answer.
Yeah.
And like she was in a coma.
It's
They
never the
said
simple
Cooper
answer.
visited her. There's a child whose last name is Horn that is Ben's grandson that has Sherilyn Fenn's eyes and eyebrows. Who else could he possibly belong to? Like, I just am curious.
So many other people.
So many other people.
25 years has passed. This kid could be
Many
23. So
Oh my
we don't
goodness.
know. We don't know
You
until
cracked.
till Lynch tells
I guess
us
we
so.
don't know. And I mean, to quote Eamon Farron himself, don't assume anything. As he said in his Vulture interview,
Yeah.
don't assume anything. And I do trust that I don't trust something in the Lynchiverse that feels totally certain.
So, maybe he is, maybe he's not Evil Coop's son, but
He's going to be
but-
Audrey's kid.
But he's Audrey's kid, and
could-
Audrey's kid is still drawn to Evil Coop for some
Right,
reason.
because Audrey's drawn to Evil Coop.
Right.
Or to Coops.
Or Coop.
To Coop, plural.
To
All
all
the
Coops.
All the
I don't know.
Coops.
Who's not?
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's a very,
I mean,
it's a hard scene.
And then they gave us the Richard Cooper lingering, like, you must be my daddy stare, which is a very specific stare.
or it could be like, I'm forcing you to watch this. Maybe
Right.
What's happening.
I think Eamon Farron is one of the most interesting and creative casting choices because he's very handsome and appealing looking, but he is not a tough guy. Like,
No.
certainly not someone you'd think would be...
He looks like a rabbit.
He really looks like a rabbit. Like, I always think he's about to turn into a rabbit.
Right.
It's
because
weird.
there's something of his face.
His cranium
Yeah.
is, like, about to shape into ears.
How his nose looks straight on.
So perfectly straight. Yeah.
looks
and his-
very bunny like.
His eyes and eyebrows could not be more Sherilyn Fenn. I mean, that's a gift from the casting gods of just like, congratulations, here's a kid who fucking looks just like Sherilyn Fenn.
Or
Do
any
what
of
you
the
will.
horns.
Right, like, but like, they have this eyebrow thing where they're like triangular. You know, they like go out and go back in a totally triangular way that like only those horns have. And he totally has it. Congratulations that you found this actor. Like, he's perfect. I love it. And if he's not, it's a great decoy. Like, it's a perfect just
That's
fuck
true.
with you decoy. And I love it. I love being decoyed. I like being confused. Last thing we have to talk about, we've put it off till last. Oh, well, two things, really. James.
Let's
Sigh.
just do the big F.
So, yeah.
I want to talk about
James, Pat's like, I'm ready for bed. James Hurley at the Bang Bang Bar. I was like, oh, wait, who's the Bang Bang Bar act in this episode? Duh, it's James.
Yeah.
Singing his classic hit, Just You, Just
that
Me.
one song. That's what I put.
You and
That
I.
one song.
With Faux Donna and Faux Maddie. And Melissa and I were both, like, giving a shout out to Faux Maddie. She nailed it. I don't want to be a hater, but I feel like you can see that Faux Maddie was a diehard Twin Peaks fan who endowed her character with all this, like, Cheryl Lee stuff.
She
And
knew what
Faux
she was supposed to
Donna, like, her parent was a producer, and she was there hanging out for the day and got, like, put in this thing by mistake. like, and happened to be brunette. Faux Maddie, you rocked it. Loved your fake lashes, loved your hair. Thought the whole thing totally worked. Like, she made that scene for me.
It's true. And then I got hypnotized by the girl from Gossip Girl, Renee. She was in Gossip Girl. First, she's drinking wine.
James is
The
lover.
fucking rose.
Is that the one who cries?
Right.
Cries.
The tattoo.
And I'm like, my note is girl with 4 R's. That song ain't about you.
That song's about Donnie. Maybe Donna. Donnie. Donna. Maddie. Laura. Evelyn.
Donna
Could be
McDonough.
Donna. There's always manana. We never thought we'd bring back.
I mean, it could be like
diehard fans are like, they did it.
But she also has a rose tattoo. And
She does. She has a rose tattoo.
7663.
7663. David Lynch, are you feeling lazy because you are literally tattooing numbers on people?
I feel like he's really just trying to make
Throw
you
us
like,
off.
I think it's more like pay attention to this.
Right.
Because not everyone's like us taking
No,
notes
it's true.
and watching these episodes 3 times.
The few people I have talked to about this who are like casual watchers, I'm like, 3s, am I right? And they're like, what are you talking about? I'm like, well, the big thing is like 3s, whatever. Like, 3s? Are you kidding me? But like, we go for it. We go for it here.
7s and 3s.
I mean, it's either divisible by 3 or it's a 7, which is a classic example here, 7663. Come on.
Yeah.
I'm no mathematician, as is evidenced by the fact that my degree is in musical theater, and the last time I took math was junior year of high school. So
You didn't have to take any math in college?
no,
Not even
my
like,
guidance counselor literally was like, this girl doesn't need it. It's not helping. Let's just transition out of that.
Oh.
I didn't take math in college. I got to take Psych 101 as my science course. Musical theater, guys. You can get a bachelor's and tap dance and smile.
I mean, I have a Bachelor of Science, so that's...
I mean, I
I
don't
had
want to
it-
make it sound dumb because I use that degree every day. I memorize lines. I deliver
No.
lines. Like, it's 100%.
And I have a double degree, and my one degree was like, you have to take these elementary statistics. And I was like, but I'm a business major, so I took this quantitative method statistics. They're like, nah.
Right.
You gotta take these elementary statistics. And I literally was like sleeping in the class, and then the professor would be like, because it was an interim, and this was before cell phones, like, was a thing, so I would take notes of everything that was happening around me, like 7:42. Blue-eyed guy just got up to go to the bathroom. And then my teacher would be like, go to the board and do the problem. I'm like, here. I'm like, I took this already, but you're making me take it again.
Oh my God.
Anyway,
Yeah.
that's my math story from
So
college.
we know that my math skills are like not the highest, but I know when things are divisible by 3, David Lynch,
It's true.
and 6 are, and then a 7 is lucky 7 insurance. Number 3 is rife throughout this episode. We know 3s are good, 15s are bad, 2s are questionable, but we definitely know 3s are good. So this woman, Renee, is probably good. She's got like all the signs of goodness with her 7663 on her tattoo.
Or she's doomed.
and
One
her
of the two.
rose. Yeah, that's true. And she's
Because
also just crying.
This song
Because
is
she
not
loves
that
James
fucking
so
touching.
much, which is so hard to just imagine.
Which is, she's the reason why I went into this small spiral, because I was like, where do I know her from again? Then I IMDb'd her, and her IMDb page has the episode 4 on like her IMDb page, so I was like, I
Right.
need to watch this scene again because wait, she's in it. So, and then they were just talking about like, oh, James is looking at you, and
Right.
to Renee, that's her name.
Renee. Yep.
And then Shelley's like,
Mm.
James will always be cool. It's like,
Yeah.
he was just in that motorcycle accident that makes him look like that.
I know. It's just crazy town.
He
Yeah.
doesn't even look that. He doesn't look bad.
No, but
at
have
all.
you
He's
noticed-
just skinnier.
Here's one thing I've noticed.
No?
Every time he's with...
No, I thought he was Bob when I was looking at the like
He looks
the Entertainment
a
Weekly.
little cancer patient.
That's very cancer patient.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because he's skinnier. But
When
he doesn't
men
look-
lose weight, they look like cancer patients. That's a weird
Like,
thing
then
with
they should
men.
have like
Right.
a weird bandana on their
Right.
heads.
Like men who lose weight, you're never like, oh, you look awesome. You're like, hey,
Are you okay?
Right? It's so weird. It's a different thing. But yeah, like, ooh, yeah, it's
But I don't
strange.
see motorcycle accident. though,
No,
is what I'm
I
saying.
But that's
see.
what they're saying,
Yeah.
Right.
that he was in a motorcycle.
But I'm not. Yeah, this one.
You don't see that. You see more of he might have had some kind of
Cancer.
terminal illness.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
For a while,
That's what it certainly looks
stopped
like.
Eating.
Have you guys noticed
Was
that
on
in
an
the
IV.
2 scenes we've seen him in, he is with someone else who has a plastic glove on their left hand?
Yeah, we haven't met him yet.
No.
Yes.
But isn't that weird? Oh, I know, that's fuck.
Yeah,
Damn it.
because we
Well,
meet.
who else has a plastic? glove?
No, there was another one. The first character he was hanging with had a plastic glove on his hand,
It's the
too.
same guy.
I was
Was
probably
the
the
same
same
guy.
guy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
because
God.
I also found
Oh,
that out, but I was
yeah.
going to leave
So
that
maybe
out
it
till-
was truly
Oh,
on
good
13.
call.
Okay.
because
Shoot,
like that's why
sorry,
I was
guys.
like texting Kelly like we have to like
I know it all
binge
comes
watch
together.
all of this because so much of the stuff that we've seen because we only have 4 episodes left after next episode like
Right.
all of it's slowly coming together so we're missing pieces where like
Ugh, I know.
in episode 4 like we see Red give fingers to Shelly and she's just like smiling and waving
Yeah.
but we don't know who that guy is.
Right. No, and I still want to know Richard and Linda.
Oh, that's
We
true.
know who Richard is. We don't really know who Linda is.
No.
Oh, that's
So
true.
that's like another, the
Linda's
giant at the very
so,
beginning says, remember Richard and Linda.
4:30.
4:30, yes. So the last scene, guys, is tough.
Your favorite sad scene.
It's my favorite sad scene. It made me, Pat knows, I sobbed like hysterically when I first watched this. Which it was like pent up, just, I hadn't had a good cry about Twin Peaks, and this just kind of like opened the floodgates for me. And in the way they do it too, you see like the Bang Bang Bar, and we kind of get the idea that the Bang Bang Bar is typically the last scene, which sometimes it's not, but most of the time the Bang Bang Bar is the last scene. And then it pans to Big Ed's gas farm, and it's just Big Ed eating a cup of soup by himself. But
With the bear with me. That's my favorite. Bear head.
the like
Bear with me.
loneliness and the devastation of just Ed's situation, being this man, like this old man alone without Norma, having his soup alone in the gas station.
I know.
Just-
At first I
it's
thought it was some
so-
ramen, but then I realized it was just R&R soup.
God, it's the roughest. I thought it was so devastating. I thought it was such a like, I do think there is something to be said for, there's these big dramas, but then there's also these small dramas of everyday life and everyday relationships. And this Ed and Norma relationship to me just is really, really sad that like they've just progressed nowhere in their relationship and that he still is
They
like
just
longing
can't
for
take
her.
the leap. Like,
Yeah,
why can't
and he
they?
just is, he's missing this. And Pat, I put it to you, like, if we lived in the same town but weren't together and, like, we're with other people, like, it's hard to even imagine, like,
It is,
that
yes.
situation, like, how horrible that, it's just horrible. This idea of repression and just every day you're not getting what you want, it's horrible. So I really think it was and I also thought it was a cool reminder that we're, like, telling this story about Doug Puzz and zombie coal miners and Garmin Bozia, but at the end of the day, a scene with Ed eating soup alone is the thing that's going to make me really sad.
Again, here's all the mythology, the smoking man, but you
Right.
just really want to see Scully and Mulder
Yeah,
together.
that's so true. That's such a good point.
Hugging.
Yeah, all I want is, like, Mulder and Scully to kiss.
right.
Yeah, it's so true.
Just
Like,
a simple dance is fine.
I'm talking about the Rain King episode. Yeah.
Yes.
For sure. Totally. It's true. Like, the little small town relationship moments are just as important as the big mythos moments. I love the way that they intertwine together. And I think
Right.
that, for me, has to be the secret sauce because X-Files and Twin Peaks are, like, my 2 favorite shows. So,
Because there's no way that whatever's happening between Norma and Ed has anything to do with whatever Golden Coal, the Blue Rose.
They are
is.
totally outside of the story. They have nothing to do with Laura Palmer.
And there are mill plot that's just more entertaining.
That's true.
Than ever a mill plot was.
They are a hardcore B plot, but they're the B plot we love to be a part of. Always. So, yeah, we'll see how it goes. It's starting to all come together.
I know.
Meanwhile...